welcome to the Appetite for Discussion show with your host, Brendan Crouch.
Hey, thanks everybody. Appreciate you tuning in tonight. Thanks, Julius, and thanks to States Vegas Radio. Many of you, some of you, most of you are going to know tonight's guest. He is the infamous Richard Griggs.
Uh-oh. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
I'm good. It's interesting to be sort of here in the belly of the beast. I've seen some episodes, but I didn't really know where it took place.
Yeah.
Some nondescript location in town. And so, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.
No, you're welcome. It's always fun to see someone's reaction when they pull up and they're like, this is a flea market?
Yeah.
And we're going to do it in here, right?
Well, then I had to talk to my kids about what a flea market was. And they're kind of like, we're going in here. And then we came in, and it's closed. I'm sure during the daytime.
Yeah, there's like lights and stuff.
It's a nice, nice place to be at night. It's a little creepy when you first come in.
It could be a little spooky,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So where do you keep the
If I didn't
bodies?
know you, I would have been hesitant to follow you in.
So imagine if like I had never met you, which has been the case for
There was a time
guests.
when I didn't know. Oh, yeah.
There was a time. That was a long time ago.
Right.
But if you showed up here and you're like, I'm concerned.
Yeah. That would be legitimate concern.
It would be.
Yeah.
But no, this is a safe space.
Yeah, I feel safe now.
So we were talking before the show. They said you've been doing some canoeing and you've been on the water.
Yeah, totally. It's springtime. So one of the things, one of our family's favorite things to do is go paddling. So I kayaked for years, and as my kids got older, we kind of switched to a canoe, and so we've been able to put the canoe on the water the last 2 weekends in a row, which is great. And paddled at Lake James 2 weeks ago, and then this last just a couple days ago, Sunday, we were on the Uwharrie River for the first time, which is in Uwharrie National Forest, which is an hour and 15 minutes from here, east.
When did you first start getting comfortable or being introduced to the water?
Oh, I grew up that way. My dad was in the Coast Guard, but before he joined the military, he was always into backpacking and things like that. And so that's just kind of how we were raised. Every family vacation was spent in a tent, pretty much. Like we had a pop-up trailer for a little while.
Did you really?
Like legitimately as a child, like being concerned that the Easter Bunny wouldn't find us, if we were camping.
That's a legitimate concern.
Yeah, and it was a big time concern. It always worked out. But no, for the most part, like every family vacation that I can recall was spent camping. So, just about. I mean, every once in a while we had my dad had like a work conference or something like that, but they were pretty much the mass majority, 95%, were spent in a tent or in a pop-up camper, and it was great, man. I dug it. So, I mean, I grew up backpacking and canoeing and doing all that kind of stuff. That's just kind of what we did.
So that's something that I'm unfamiliar with that I would like to get familiar with.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But so what's the pop-up camper?
Yeah.
What's that like?
It was great, man. So it's ours was pretty basic. Granted this was 35 years ago. But it's a short trailer, and you get out there and you crank the handle up, and it goes from how tall is that? 4 feet?
Yeah.
Up to 8 or 10, and you got beds that slide out at each end, and a little kitchenette and a little table that would fold out and stuff in there. So it just made it a little bit more family friendly than having to live out of a tent for a few days. In a picnic table, you could have a little plug-in refrigerator and some of those kind of creature comforts.
So
a little stove.
You probably know this about me. I'm not very outdoorsy. Does it mean I don't like it? Does it mean I don't want to get to learn?
Sure.
But I look at like RVs or pull-behinds. What they're called, pull-behind? Or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Those camper things.
Like
right?
a fifth wheel.
Like a fifth wheel or something
totally,
like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that thing looks really neat. But you ever seen the movie RV with Robin Williams?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. That would be me, right? I wouldn't know where to put the poop line, wouldn't know.
Sure.
It would be a mess, dude.
And so there's something to be said for the simplicity of just going, getting a tent and some sleeping bags and, an air mattress and just going and not dealing with all the bells and whistles, because it is inherently more things that could go wrong.
But the problem with that simplicity of the tent is I can't put a tent together.
Oh, right.
So
well, it's easier than you think.
I don't know,
and in
man.
fact, they make some that just kind of pop up. I think Matthew Waugh has one that just kind of, you throw it up in there and it pops together. But so I mean, I can see the beauty of both. My kids, we camp pretty often, and it's always been out of a tent. We also go to a lot of music festivals and stuff like that with the family. And so when we're there and maybe one of our friends, we've got some friends that have either like VW buses or or some that have like a nice RV.
Like legit VW buses?
Yeah. We've got a couple friends that, well, one has a VW van, one has a VW bus. I'm not exactly sure what the difference, how they are different, but they apparently are.
Okay.
But then we've got some friends that have like a couple that have like legit RVs, and it's pretty nice. It's nice to camp next to those folks at the music festivals, because then you've got a bathroom that you can use.
Oh, nice.
So you can go inside. The kids like to play inside the RV and stuff. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. But you don't have to deal with all that stuff. There's no. I don't know what happens with all that stuff. I assume there's a bucket under there or something that you fill up that you have to dump.
So this is going to sound like a really stupid question, but when you're camping for like days or a long weekend into the woods and you've got to go number 2. Right?
Deuce, yeah.
Yeah, we got to deuce it up. Where do you go? Because, full disclosure, I have belly issues. Okay?
Oh, sure.
So I need to know.
That's legit. That's a legit concern.
Like, where's the nearest restroom? I'm not drinking coffee on this trip in the morning. When I go to travel for work, there's no coffee on the ride because you don't know what traffic's going to be like. And the last thing you want to do is be standing in TSA squirming.
Sure.
Right?
Totally,
because little poop man said, ding, ding,
right.
you got 15 minutes.
You don't want to get out of line.
You're not getting out of line.
Yeah, I understand. So, a couple options. If you're at a campground, there's usually there's a bathhouse or something like that. State parks all have. We were camped at Lake James State Park 2 weeks ago, and their campground there was just a few years old and had a really nice bathhouse and showers and all that kind of stuff. If you're backpacking, you're in the woods, so you're in the woods. So you're going out and you're digging a hole and you're burying and
dig a hole. Do you carry toilet paper? I guess. Yeah, you have to, right?
Yeah. It's preferred. To each their own, but I personally carry toilet paper.
I like to do that.
And in fact, there'd be different schools of thought on this. If you're gonna do like traditional leave no trace backpacking, you really should pack that stuff back out. Not like your toilet paper, like you'd use it and then you'd put it in a bag and pack it back out with you, as opposed to burying it. But
so, what did you call it? Leave no trace?
Yeah. So the idea of leave no trace is that if you are backpacking, this isn't really a practice, at a state, like at a state park, because it's obviously been developed and whatnot. But if you're out in the backcountry, the idea of leave no trace would be that you would, when somebody else came along there after you, there would be no sign that you were ever there.
So you would poop in a bag.
Well, you may poop and bury that because that's gonna biodegrade.
Okay,
but you pack your toilet paper back out. If you were so passionate about your outdoor ethics.
Well, I'm passionate about my TP.
Right.
And I am not conservative because of my TP.
So a lot of people would, you're not conservative with your TP.
No, the whole roll, baby. Because I would be hiking out.
You better dig a big hole. But so that's, those are legit. Those are legitimate concerns though when you're going out in the woods and those kind of uncomfortable stuff that you have to process. It's just part of the deal.
So is there a favorite place where you like to go camp?
My favorite place to go backpacking is Grayson Highlands State Park.
Grayson Highlands. And where's that located?
It's in Grayson County, Virginia. So it's just it's really just up north of West Jefferson area, just north of Ashe County.
Oh yeah.
So much so that I named my oldest child Grayson because that's where I grew up liking to go backpacking. It's cool. It's there's no other. Well, there's a few places like it in the southeast, but not many. It's got all these big balds, and like rock outcroppings and stuff. It sort of would be what you'd consider like Scotland or someplace like that to look like big open balds and stuff. It's
so when you say big open balds, for people at home and myself who don't know what that means.
So you get up out of the woods and you just got these big open exposed mountaintops.
Gotcha.
Like what you'd picture like Scotland. Well, I guess what I picture Scotland to be like.
Okay.
I've never been there. I've been to Ireland, not to Scotland. But you've just got these big open, you're above tree line, and it's just kind of open, like Sound of Music type thing. If you can picture, Julie Andrews running across that field. No, it's just a beautiful area, and it's close. It's about an hour and a half away, and there's wild ponies up there that just kind of roam around. It's just a cool spot.
It sounds cool.
Yeah, Appalachian Trail runs right through there, so you got lots of great access to trail towns. So yeah, it's just a pretty spot.
So when you go backpacking, and do you fish while you're up there, or pack a pole, or?
I do not. Some
not.
people would.
Yeah.
There's wild trout streams up in Mount Rogers Wilderness Area and Grayson Highland State Park and all those places. There are wild trout streams up there, but I do not fish when I'm up there.
Do you fish? Are you a fisherman?
I fish a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really kind of reserved for quality time with Pop.
Gotcha.
My dad owns Carolina Mountain Sports.
Yeah.
Downtown Statesville. And he's had the shop for about 20 years now. And fly fishing has grown into being sort of his major focus of his business. And so he fishes all the time, every Sunday and Monday pretty much. And so, a few times a year I'll go fishing with Dad. But that's kind of the extent of my
You
interest
go
in
fly
fishing.
fishing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So fly fishing is something. I actually sat beside a guy on a plane, and he's retired, and he fly fishes, and I guess he makes his own lures or whatnot. And
Flies, yeah.
Flies. There
Yep.
you go. And he talked to me for probably an hour, and dude, I was in like listening
Sure.
to his stories about fly
Yeah.
fishing and how peaceful it is and how wonderful it is. We actually exchanged email addresses, and he was like, "If you ever get into fly fishing, you want some information on equipment, shoot me an email." So I
Sure.
kept his email. But fly fishing is one of those things where I look at it, I don't even understand how that works with the casting and the pulling and whatnot. So, but it's one of those things where I want to learn about. Does your dad offer like classes?
Yeah, he does.
Or trips that you can go on?
Yeah, so he'll do some kind of intro to fly fishing classes.
Okay.
In the store, and he can teach. He can do casting lessons just out on a patch of grass just to show the principle of casting a fly rod.
Is that hard?
No,
It's not hard.
no.
Okay.
It's really not. It's just it's just a couple of motions, and it, once it clicks, it clicks. And what he would tell you is, like, have you ever seen A River Runs Through It? Have you seen that film?
Yes.
Robert
it's been a while.
Redford and
Yeah.
Brad Pitt, I guess. It's a great film, but so they're doing that big, they're out on that big water and they're doing those big casts and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's something you do out west. My dad would call that a Hollywood cast.
That's a Hollywood
because
cast.
like here in North Carolina, there's not a whole lot of places where you would do, you'd be letting that much line out that you'd be doing those big casts back and forth. A lot of the North Carolina trout streams and stuff are pretty tight. They got a lot of trees overhanging and stuff, so it really becomes more about proper fly selection, kind of understanding what kind of bugs are hatching in the stream or in the area. Looking for good places to cast, so that you're putting your fly in the right spot. Manipulation of the fly in the water. So a lot of that kind of stuff. So it's, I think ultimately my dad would sort of describe it as it's sort of a grown man's excuse to play in the water, to go wade out in the middle of the river and play and hang out. And, but he does do all those kind of classes. He'll take people out, fishing like up on Hilton Creek in Ashe County. Mm-hmm. And then he's got a guy, Mickey Revis, Marissa Revis's dad.
Oh, really?
He ties a lot of the flies that Dad sells. And so Mickey will teach fly tying classes out of the shop. And so people can take those fly tying classes, even if they're not into fishing. They can take those tying classes,
Mm-hmm.
and it may just be a hobby.
And is that one of the things that does your dad ties on?
He does, yeah, certain patterns.
Certain
just kind of as a therapeutic sort of
Well,
thing.
what's funny and what's interesting to me is like, yes, it's an excuse for the guys to go play on the water, adults. But it sounds like just from what you've said, and this gentleman told me a few years ago, there's really more to it than that. Like you said, where you're going to cast, the precision,
Oh, sure.
and, the area that you pick out to go
Right.
fish in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you can get as into it as you want to. You can certainly go out there and take some flies and go out there and cast and have a good day, messing around on the stream. But certainly, if you want to be successful at it, it's going to take some, effort and some research and some practice to kind of hone all those skills to be successful at it. If you're more concerned about catching than you are fishing per se,
Right.
But yeah, no, it's grown into being a good business for him, and certainly a good hobby. And there's a lot of people in the area that fish, and there's a lot of great fishing in North Carolina and Southern Virginia and the coast. You can fly fish. You can fly fish anywhere for anything. So I
Can
mean,
you really?
Yeah. So Dad will fly fish. He fly fishes for trout a lot, but he'll go float on the New and fly fish for smallmouth. Or go to the coast and take a boat out and fly fish for false albacore, which isn't really a good eating fish, but it's a fun fish to fight apparently. So they'll go out and
Have
fish,
you done that?
fish for a
Have you been
weekend.
on that?
No, I don't. I'm not big on being out on the open water
the
for
big
too
water?
terribly long. I don't mind going out there, but like sitting out there and the up and down, I don't know how well
Make a
I'd
little-
fare.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Seasick is no fun.
No, I was seasick once a long
Right.
time ago in Florida, and I was a young kid, probably Grayson's age, and I don't exactly remember it, but I know I don't ever want to experience it.
Right,
again.
that's kind of my recollection. I was young, but it was bad enough that it still kind of lingers, and I'm kind of like, I don't ever want to be that way again. So, I'll go out with Dad on the boat, and we'll cruise around, but and he'll may stop and fish for 15 minutes or something, but then I'm kind of like, all right, let's move on.
Go that
Let's
way.
see what those people are doing over there. Right? Yeah, totally.
I'm not a huge fan of water anyway. Like I can't swim. No, okay, I can swim.
Sure.
I can swim to survive.
Right.
Okay. But like, I'm not going to go out there on the lake, and I'm not going to go, oh, I think I could go to that other dock.
Yeah,
No,
I'm with you.
I'm not really going to hang out in the deep end of the pool for long.
Right.
I like to get in the pool.
Yeah. I love standing in 4 feet of water.
Love it. Right.
Yeah.
I get to stand there. I get to cool off. I get to pee. No, I'm not going to be in the pool.
Right. Sure, you're not.
I haven't done that since like last summer.
Right.
So, but there's something about, and I can't float. Like, I can't float on my back. Heels go down, I almost sink.
Yeah,
So,
we sound like our comfort level and our ability level on the water is very similar. I can't float.
No.
I don't know why. I can't figure it out.
Why?
I
Why
watch
can
other
we
people
not
do it. I don't
float?
know. I don't get it.
But there's
My dad's like
people-
a world class floater. My brother-in-law, he'll go out there in the ocean and just kind of float on his back, and he'll just kind of bob up and down with the waves. And I watch him, and I'm like, hey man, he's gonna get eaten.
Yep.
But he just floats. And I just I've never been able to do it. I don't know why. And I'm like you. I don't
understand.
Sorry about the background noise. Let's turn that down.
I don't understand why we can't float.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know.
annoying because
Yeah,
it looks so peaceful. Those people floating.
Yeah. And I also, like you say, I'm not one to go out to the lake and say, yeah, I'm gonna swim way over there because it's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
I'm hoping that I can. My wife's a beautiful swimmer. She was on the swim team all growing up and in
So
high
was my
school and all
wife.
that kind of stuff. And so I'm hoping that my kids will take to it and maybe we'll just put them in lessons and stuff because I
Sure.
think there's great value in being very comfortable on the water. I wish that I was more comfortable, but
Right.
I don't know.
You know
It's
what?
a lot. It's a lot to process.
If
out
you'll
there.
do it, I'll do it. We'll go take adult swim lessons together.
That may not be a bad idea.
Because look, in full disclosure, there's a lot of things I'm not good at, like
Sure.
man skills. Okay,
Like what?
name it. Not very good at it.
What do you mean? Like swinging a hammer?
I can swing a hammer, but like just fixing stuff around the house. Are you good at that?
To a point.
Yeah.
But, there's definitely certain things where I'll decide, okay, the amount of time that this is going to take me,
Yep.
and the quality level.
Yeah.
It's probably better off just to pay somebody to do it.
Outsource
Yeah.
that.
So and I think, and I don't know, I've got some buddies that are real handy. I also feel like it's a generational thing too. Like
Yeah.
my dad would certainly pick up a book and learn how to do something before he would
Pay someone.
call someone to do it.
Right.
Yeah. But there are certain like plumbing issues and stuff like that. I'm probably calling.
Yeah, I'm calling. I can't fix a car. I can change the.
Yeah,
Used
I
to be able to
definitely can't
change
fix
an
a car.
oil like many years ago when it was easy.
Yeah.
You can change a tire.
Yeah.
That's really about it.
Yeah, I can change
jump
a
your
tire.
car off. I can
Yeah.
jump your car off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Mitch Hedberg. Are you familiar with Mitch Hedberg? He was a really funny comedian. He has since passed away, but he used to tell a joke about like his knowledge level of cars and the fact that like if the gas light was on, he was real confident. He was like, "Oh, I got this," But then pretty much anything else, he was like, "I don't know what to do."
I don't know what
on
to
this."
do.
Yeah, and so that's about mine.
So I think what I need to do is maybe even Matthew and I should have an evening at someone's house to where you teach us how to put up a tent, like a proper tent.
Yeah, we can do that.
Because I don't want the kids to know that their dad's a complete buffoon and doesn't know how to do anything.
Sure.
So I need to trick them into Dad knows everything.
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah,
know what
totally.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Total bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah,
Total
we can do
BS
that.
on them. We can do that?
Yeah, we can do that. That'd be good.
We're gonna set it up, and we'll figure some other stuff out too.
Well, and because it is great. I mean, if you haven't camped much, it's a great opportunity just to get out, and a lot of times, I'll take like if my wife's doing something for the weekend and stuff. That's kind of our go-to. It's like, well, let's just go camping, and me and the kids and the dog will go camping because you get out and they, it's a whole different set of things that they can go and do and play and explore and
Right.
That's that sort of creative nature play is cool and so they have a big time and I get to relax a little bit and build a fire and cook dinner and stuff while they're kind of off doing and it's a lot of times I almost feel like it's easier than being at home without all the
easier.
distractions and stuff because it's like
Right.
guys just go play
Just
just go do find stuff turn over rocks eat bugs whatever you do out there
Whatever you do.
yeah whatever you're doing yeah no it's great.
So now you actually lived in Colorado for a while, right?
We did. We did.
You can go ahead.
Hey guys, you're being too loud. Like, cut it. Station.
Well, we have an audience.
Right, I
Right.
do. My kids are here. We did. So my wife Jennifer is from Statesville. We actually met in middle school, or we met at open house before middle school started.
Yeah.
She's a year older than you and I are. But anyway, so we went. Went through high school. Went to college. She went to Chapel Hill. I went to State. After we got married, we lived in Winston-Salem, and then we got married. And almost immediately after we got married, moved to Colorado and lived in southwestern Colorado for 2 years, just over 2 years.
Just over 2 years.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've always wanted to ask and talk to you about is while you were there, you guys did, I think, some volunteering for like Telluride and stuff like that. Is that right?
Yeah, so we lived in Telluride. We lived in the town of Telluride, and it was crazy. We were living in Winston-Salem for those couple years, and we had just sort of decided that we were maybe thinking about moving somewhere for a while after we got married. My wife's mother, my mother-in-law, just passed away. And so we were kind of, going through a bunch of stuff and sort of thought, what we should do is, right after we get married, let's find somewhere to move for a season. And so we sort of listed off like 5 sort of pipe dream places that we could maybe move, that would potentially have seasonal work.
Yeah.
And, like Telluride, which we'd never been to, but we'd heard about it because they have a big bluegrass festival and stuff there. And Jackson Hole, maybe San Francisco. I can't remember what all 5 were, but there were places like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, let's think about it. We'll try to make some phone calls, see what our options are. Well, it was like the very next day, I was working at a gear shop in Winston, and I was a couple had come in and bought a Yakima rack for their car, and so I was out installing the rack on the roof of their car, and I noticed they had Colorado plates, and we were chatting, and because that takes about an hour to install something like that. And,
Okay.
so we were chatting, and they were, I was like, "Oh, you guys live in Colorado? Where do you live?" And they're like, "Oh, we actually live in Telluride." And I was like, "No kidding." My wife and I were just talking, last night about wanting to maybe move somewhere for a season, and this is probably July. We're getting ready to get married in August, and she was like, "Oh, I work for the ski resort out there. I can give you guys jobs for the ski resort." And I was like, "Wow, okay, let me, So I went home and I talked to Jen, and I called that lady the next day, and I was like, "We're in, tell us when we need to be there." And she was like, "Great, you can come out, mid-September and work in the office for a couple months while we get ready, for the mountain to open and stuff." And so we packed up and drove out there. We'd never been there before, but it's pretty remarkable. It's probably the most beautiful place I've ever been that you can live.
Yeah.
It's a box canyon, so it's walled in, 3 walls with 13,000 foot peaks, and town itself's about 8,500 feet, and it's just a really remarkable little mountain town of about 2,000. So you park the car, you don't really need to drive for the rest of the winter. We took a gondola to work every day, and
Now, what's a gondola?
it's almost like an enclosed chairlift. Like you see them sometimes, like in movies, maybe like in Switzerland or something. It'd be look like a little, not like a trolley car, but like a little elevator car that would travel on a cable. And so we worked for the ski resort that first winter. Worked in the lesson sales pass booking office, and then when it came summertime, Jen actually got a job working as an office manager for the Telluride Film Festival.
What was that?
And so we ended up both working for the Telluride Film Festival. And she did office manager work, and I did like production work. So I worked with these guys that would go out and hang movie screens and hang speakers and all that kind of stuff, because they ultimately for the film festival they'd create about, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 13 different movie theaters for the 4-day film festival. Which you're in a town like that, you're converting like a middle school gymnasium or the empty space above the hardware store. You're converting all those places into pretty high quality movie theaters for the weekend, because you're showing Telluride consistently shows like Oscar worthy film. And so we just kind of fell into that, and so we ended up staying for a couple years and worked for the ski resort in the wintertime and worked for the film festival in the summer. And we usually have about a month or 6 weeks off in between, and we'd travel. We didn't have any responsibility back then, so we'd take off and go. And one year we spent 10 weeks and went to Australia for a few weeks and did Southeast Asia for like 6 weeks, and we just kind of had that. We were just kind of like, well, we don't have it. We might as well do it now.
You better do it now.
Yeah. So we did that, and then for years, up until a few years ago, we were still going back out and working for the film festival in the summer. For a couple weeks at a time. Not for real long, but we'd go back out and volunteer. Help put theaters together or whatever, just to be able to go and experience it. And you make friends that kind of work. A lot of the folks that we worked with, this is what they did for a living, is they kind of work this festival circuit. So they'd work, maybe work Sundance Film Festival for 3 months, and then maybe work Telluride for 2.5 months, and whatever other Tribeca and just other film festivals is for a variety of jobs. And they would just kind of travel that circuit, and either they were aspiring filmmakers, or they just had some connection in the film industry and kind of liked this sort of this sort of lifestyle
Yeah.
of going and doing, working seasonally and maybe saying if I got something coming up, I'm not going to work that festival this year. I'm going to take 2 months and go do this instead or whatever. So it's a pretty cool group of people.
So, was there I guess when you're dealing with those type of directors, actors, and films that are could be nominated for Oscars, right? Was there any one person that you met that was like super down to earth, super cool, that is maybe famous or semi-famous?
So yeah, actually, well, famous now.
Famous now.
So we worked with a guy out there whose name was Barry Jenkins, and he worked in concessions, and he was an aspiring filmmaker, but he worked in concessions out there and helped set up concession stands and stuff. But 2 years ago, he won an Oscar for his film Moonlight. He won the Oscar for Best Picture. And I think, what else did he win for? Maybe Best Adapted Screenplay. And then he was nominated for an Oscar again this year for his film If Beale Street Could Talk.
And this is a guy that you worked with.
Yeah, it was. We were friends with Barry. I mean, and he was a super great, down to earth guy. He seems to still be. Jan and Barry keep up pretty regularly on Twitter and stuff like that. And yeah, so it's just pretty surreal to watch this guy that we worked with for all these years, who's like totally making it now. And is very, well renowned and I think well respected in the film world. So yeah, pretty awesome. And you'd see the kind of the Hollywood people around. Like I got a glimpse of Brad Pitt one time. Pretty attractive dude, you got to admit. I was kind of blown away. Like he walked by and I was like, wow, he is as attractive as everybody says that he is.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
Wait till you see him in person. So you'd see people. It was always really cool. The people that you'd see around town in general. I mean, it was just kind of a secluded place to live, and so it was popular, I think, for some celebrities and stuff to vacation there in general, just because it was kind of getting away from a lot of a lot of the crowd and stuff like that. When I worked in ski school lesson bookings, like I would just book lessons, and like we were always booking lessons for high profile, Seinfeld and people like that. I didn't meet those people. Right. I would charge their American Express card.
Is there? No wonder you're driving that big Mercedes.
Oh yeah,
thanks, Jerry.
Me. Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
It's funny because a lot of times, celebrities when they stay places, they stay in fake names. Right, so like Roger Rabbit,
sure,
or
sure,
whatever.
Yeah. Barles Charkley.
Did you ever come across a Barles Charkley?
That's one of those Capital One commercials or something with Charles Barkley. That's his fake name at the hotel. I've always thought that one was funny. There were some that like had specific names, but like you knew who they were. Yeah. It was like, oh well, all of so and so's lessons are booked under whatever, right. Maybe like but I don't think it was like a made up name. It would be like you're booking under their manager's name or something like that. So nothing too exciting.
So you did that for a few years, and then is that really what inspired you to bring in film festival to Statesville?
Well, certainly a catalyst.
Yeah.
We'd been back here, so we moved back here at the end of 2008. And I started working for the city sometime in 2009 for the recreation department. And one of the things that eventually became my focus with the department was on events and things like that. Mm-hmm. And that enabled me to work pretty closely with the Chamber of Commerce and some of those folks. And so through a series of conversations with some of those folks, the Film Fest idea was sort of born amongst a few of us sitting around talking. And kind of on that idea, it was kind of like we talked about it for a year or so, and then eventually somebody was just like, let's pull the trigger and let's do it and just try it and see how it goes. And then we'll sort of, we'll adapt and see if we can make it work. And I think we were all kind of pleasantly surprised at how well it went the first year. And since then, we've got the introduction of Katie Gordon. Once Katie Gordon got involved, she was a film student, she has a degree in film and is just a pretty brilliant, person in general. And then especially with things related to film. So like her involvement as festival director has really kind of legitimized what the Full Bloom Film Festival has done over the last 4 years, I guess. And so we're really excited about where it's going.
So this will be year 4 or year 5 of the film festival?
This will be year 5.
Okay. Because I will tell you, when I learned that there was a film festival coming, I was so excited, and I was not absolutely going to miss this. So Chris and I both were excited, and we volunteered. for the first 2 years for the film festival. We made it the third year, but we missed last year because we didn't have sitters.
Oh,
but
yeah.
That's something that I try to get to every year and support. But I think it's something neat and unique to the area.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. And I think it's something, too, that a lot of people don't understand, so they don't go to it. They don't really know what it is. But I think if people tried it, they would be very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and I think
experience.
and I'm glad you guys have dug it. And I know that you've been. I mean, I've seen you there for years. I think it's we have been blown away. Like I said, is with the quality of film that we're getting at the event. The first year we were kind of like, oh, we should maybe pay to have some higher profile films here and stuff. And in reality, the ones that we did bring in weren't as well received as a lot of the the ones that we didn't.
Yeah.
And so now we're at the point where we're turning down great films that we would have certainly accepted the first year. Because we're getting so many submissions, 300 plus submissions each
300.
year. Sure.
So what's the screening process like to how you decide, like, this one's in, this one's out? How do you do
so
that?
we ultimately have a subcommittee. Yeah. So we've got, I guess, a board, a committee, however you want to put it, that handles kind of the big picture, film selection, venues, all this kind of stuff. And we've got a subcommittee that handles film selection. And so we basically task a bunch of volunteers to watch everything. So as films are coming in, somebody's screening them. And maybe we're putting them in categories, and this person's watching all the documentary shorts, and this person's watching all the feature-length documentaries, and this person's watching all the animation, and kind of what people are interested in. We kind of talk to them and say, what do you want to watch? And obviously overlap there as well. If you want to watch more stuff, watch more stuff. But so they're ultimately going through and rating everything.
So there's a rating process.
Yeah, there's a rating process where they're, I mean, I don't know how they, however they want to do it, however they choose to rate them. But yeah, there's a rating process that we use we do a lot of this through a website called Film Freeway. And so they do all the rating on there so that, other people that are involved in the film selection process can go on and see how they've rated and maybe determine, they rated this one really high. I want to check that one out as well, or they give this one a 1. I'm probably not going to check that one out.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they go through that process and watch everything that we have submitted, and then just start that narrowing process, and that's it's related to. So then it gets into, okay, we got to show this. We definitely want to show this. We definitely want to show this. But then also we're looking at, I should say, I don't handle film selection. They are looking at how things group together well, like so. I'm sure you guys have been to some of these where we'll do, we might have some feature length narrative films and or documentary films, but a lot of the sessions are short sessions. So maybe it's an hour made up of 6 different short films that might be 2 minutes to 15 minutes per film. And so they're, the folks that are on that film selection committee are looking at things that they think, okay, all these sort of have a similar theme. These will group together pretty well.
Right.
So
we, there's still a few short films that Kristen and I still talk about. Like, there was this one where this couple went out camping out in the woods or near the water. Turns out they're not really a couple. Somebody's wedding ring gets lost in the river.
Yeah.
And then, there's this car coming. She's answering the phone. I need to know what happened.
Sure.
I've been on the cliff for 2 years, man.
Sure.
What happened?
Yeah.
And then there was the cockroach movie, which was just obscure.
We have gotten some really interesting stuff over the years,
right?
Some of which we show because we're like, we watch it and we're like, we got to show this.
Yeah, how do you not show the
cockroach
like,
but it's so bizarre, and it's like, we got to.
The
that's why we got to do it,
right? We got to be outside the box.
We'll find quirky ways to show certain things and say, let's group all these things together and call the session this.
Yeah.
So that people kind of get what they're walking into, and but we like I say, we've been really, it's been really well received, and I think word's starting to travel. Word's certainly traveling amongst the filmmakers. Like I say, we're really excited about the quality of film that we're getting, and we're excited about the people that attend the festival. We're just hoping to continue growing that so that so that we can offer more and more films. And I think this year we may look at extending and adding an extra day, like maybe adding Sunday.
Oh, fantastic.
As well, and if not necessarily adding more films, just allowing people more opportunity to see the films that we are showing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys have. I feel like it rains during the film festival.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
I don't know, man. It's a great reason to go sit inside and watch a film.
It is a good reason to go sit inside. I got to tell you, though, I think you are responsible for a lot of important things that go on around here, though.
I mean, I wouldn't go quite that far.
Well, I mean, it's okay.
I've,
You don't
had
have
a
to.
hand in a lot of things,
But that's a good thing, though.
Well, and I think that's one of the cool parts about where we're at as a city right now is that we have got a lot of great people working in the right places. I think, and they're working together. So organizations like the Chamber and the CVB and Downtown Statesville and the city, and they're not looking. The goal is not, well, what can I do? It's what can we do. And maybe somebody has an idea, and then somebody else comes along and say, well, how can we help you with that? We want to help make sure that happens. And so we've got a lot of, I mean, being in the know, I think about what we have going on. I'm one of these that, you see people post on social media about not having anything to do here or something, and it blows me away, because it's like, we're looking at the calendar and we're like, we can't, how are we going to do this and that and this and that, and they're just things you want to be at because it's fun and it's part of that community. And that idea of community, and yeah, I mean, it's at
the end of the day, you're not going to make everybody happy. There's someone who's going to bitch about everything, right? You're not going
to make everybody happy, and I think right now, we've got a lot of stuff going on that is successful, but it's figuring out now how to make all the things that we have going on appealing to the community as a whole.
Sure.
That's one of the things that, certainly with our work at the recreation department, that's one of our focuses as we move forward is, okay, it's one thing to have an event that has 1,000 people at it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're the same 1,000 people that come to everything, are we living our mission? Are we doing this the right way? I need to find a way to make sure that we are having a broad representation, a proper representation of our community attending these events. So diversity, and if they're not coming, how can we, if we're only getting this one population, what do we need to do to alter the event to attract this population and this population and this demographic and this demographic? And so that's kind of that's the big heavy goal is, how can all these events and all this really cool, fun stuff that gives Statesville a lot of character, how can we leverage these things to strengthen the community?
Right.
So we're actually now focused on community building, and building relationships and and diversity and embracing diversity and this kind of thing, sitting down and having conversations with people.
Right.
One of the coolest events that I've had the opportunity to be a part of, it's coming up again, Tuesday, May the 21st, is the longest table.
The longest table.
The longest table. So this was kind of born under the United Way umbrella. Mm-hmm. Last year was the first year, and we had an organizing committee of 12 or 15. But ultimately, we did dinner for 500 at Statesville High School. We set up, just a big long table around, we took up half of the track there.
Yeah.
And had people sit down, and we were strategic about how we did it, and that we reached out to different nonprofits and different, groups like this to say, look, we want your group to find 15 people to come to this event, clients of yours or, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then we might reach out to this group. And it was also open, you could just register and attend the event, but it was the most diversely attended event of any event I've ever been to here in Statesville. There were, all socioeconomic classes, age groups, everything represented. And you went, and you showed up. Didn't matter if my wife and I walked up together, she was assigned a table, I was assigned a table. So I might be at table 42 and she might be at table 17. And so you went and sat down with the people at your table. And we came and served you dinner. We had people like the mayor and folks like that out there serving food. We came and served you dinner, and each table has a moderator that's just there to kind of, hopefully our conversation happens organically, but they're there to kind of spur it along if necessary. But it was amazing. I mean, people left, they hung out, they ate. Nobody ate and left. People ate and hung out and chatted with the people at their table and talked about what they loved about town, talked about things that they thought we could be doing better, throughout town. But it was really just somebody on our committee had said, food is love. It's just an opportunity to sit down and share a meal with somebody and have a conversation. And it was amazing. So I'm really excited about this year's event. The goal this year is to feed 1,000. They're actively looking for volunteers and or people just to come and eat, just to come hang out and eat. We'll have activities there for kids, so that we can kind of take the kids away and they can play over here, so that you can focus on having a conversation with whoever's across the table from you. This year it'll be at Signal Hill Mall outside.
Okay,
Because
great.
as we expanded, we were kind of like, where's a great big open space that we can have a bunch of people, and the mall has
That's
plenty
a
of
big one.
parking and a nice flat area out there. And,
Absolutely.
so yeah, it's really cool, and so it's events like that I think really kind of get me going and really sort of make me think that there's a lot of hope for our community.
Sure.
I think we still got a lot of coming together to do. But as we one of the things that I think we really have to focus on is as we grow. I mean, it's coming. Charlotte's coming. All these things are coming, and so the ability to sort of embrace inevitable growth, but sort of maintain our small town identity, sure, I think is going to be really vital to us not getting just swallowed up by development and everything like that.
Right.
Everything like that. Small town pride. I mean, that's much like you. I mean, I can't imagine at this point. I can't imagine not living in Statesville.
No,
I grew up here. I didn't. I wasn't sure I was going to come back. My wife, I think, at one point said she was not coming back. But now, I mean, neither of us could imagine not being here. It's home.
We took a neighbor of mine out Friday night. They're from here locally, and he sells insurance in Salisbury, and she runs her own daycare in Mooresville. But they actually have lived here now a little over 3 years in Statesville, but have never been out. Really in downtown.
Really, yeah.
So I took him out, and we went to the breweries, and we went and ate downtown at Mezzaluna. He wanted Italian.
Yeah, that place is great.
It is great. Yeah. And so I showed it to him, and he said that the downtown Statesville area is killing Mooresville. Like comparatively speaking, like going down there to do something as opposed to he's like, there's so many places to go grab a drink. There's nice restaurants. There's people out and walking. So he was shocked at like how vibrant. And how much there is to offer.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We live pretty close to downtown, so we walk. We walk the dog down there just about every day. Like I mentioned, my dad has a shop downtown, and so my kids are very much growing up in that downtown community. And so we're out and about, and they know people, and it's just kind of
they're Statesville famous.
They are Statesville famous, man.
They are.
They're notorious. And so I don't know, man. It's that kind of stuff that when we sometimes talk about what we don't have here.
Yep.
The flip side is, but we wouldn't have that here. We wouldn't have that elsewhere. That kind of that small town feel where you walk around and I know 85% of the people that I run into, and the ones that I don't, it's an opportunity. To meet folks, and that's just that's the beauty of a small town.
But now with the small town as well, you have the opportunity, like you said, to get to know people, to get to know even the business owners. And help get out into the community and to help. Like the longest table, I had no idea.
Sure.
Honestly, I had no idea about it. So I'm glad to learn about that. So how did you actually transition into, because you do a lot of stuff. You're a busy guy. You also have your own show.
I'm trying to remedy that. Yeah.
Are you really?
I mean, I'm just trying to, my job requires a lot now. More so than it used to, and so I'm trying to, I love a lot of the volunteer work I've done over the years and things like that, and I'm just trying to take a little step back. The kids are getting older, so there's more responsibility there. They do activities and all this kind of stuff, and so I'm trying to find a little bit better balance. I guess I should say. Yeah.
How did you fall? Because you have your own radio show.
Yeah.
Little Toe and Frankie.
That's right.
How did you fall into having your show?
Man, that was really just by chance. So my buddy Bill Day, who, if you don't know, you should know. He's a good guy. Several years ago, we had a friend that started working for one of the local radio stations doing ad sales and stuff. And sort of jokingly, we were kind of like, "Oh, why don't you talk to Billy Buck and tell him to give us a radio show?"
Yeah.
And so we pitched this idea, and I knew Billy a little bit. I'd been on the show talking about city stuff before and things like that. We sort of pitched this idea of doing a show that would sort of mesh what he does already, which is kind of that classic country, sort of Willie Whalen, all that kind of stuff that Bill and I really like. And sort of meshing it with some of that newer stuff that fits in there, like Sturgill Simpson and Chris Stapleton and, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that's initially what we pitched, was we're going to do this and we're going to play all this great outlaw country and then some newer stuff and that would fit in with that genre. And he was like, yeah, sure, let's give it a shot. So we went and did that a couple times, and then, it only took a few times that we sort of started our the scope of what we were playing became much broader.
Yeah.
And we started sneaking in the Dead, and we started sneaking in other things
Sure.
that maybe didn't fit that playlist as well. And then I guess we were talking to Adam Perry. Adam Perry was the first musical guest we ever had on the show. We were talking to Adam Perry one evening, and we were kind of like, would you ever want to come and play on the show? And so he came and played, and we were kind of like, oh, this is way better. Having somebody come in and play music. And we don't have to pick nearly as many songs for the playlist. We've got somebody else to talk to.
This just made it easier.
Yeah, we get to showcase musicians here in the area, of which we have plenty of amazing ones.
Absolutely.
And so it's just kind of morphed from there, and now that's what we do. We have a different live regional musician or band or whatever in the studio with us every Wednesday night. And for Bill and I, it's kind of like getting to have our own little private concert, and but we get to share it. Julius plays it on here for us, and we're on Bluegrass Planet Radio, and we podcast it all. I don't know. It's kind of grown into this thing that we never really. We just thought it would be an excuse to hang out and have a couple beers on a Wednesday night.
So did you guys start out as Little Toe and Frankie? Like that was the initial name of the show?
That was the initial name of the show.
So how did you come up with the name? You're Frankie.
I'm Frankie.
Right.
Yeah, that's just my wife one night 10 or more years ago, before I ever lived in Colorado. She started calling me Frankie, and it just stuck.
She looked at him and goes, you know what? You look like a Frankie.
Yeah, she just started calling me Frankie. And
out of nowhere? That's random.
Totally. And there are people that, we've known along the way that would probably just say, like, oh, yeah, that's Frank. I mean, like, I don't know. It's just one of those nicknames.
If you and I did a show together, it'd be Frankie and Asshole. Because my wife calls me Asshole all the time. Asshole.
We got to be careful with what we say on our radio show.
Right.
And then, Bill, Little Toe, I had some story about, he grew up in West Virginia, and so his dad's CB handle was Big Toe. And he's back in the day, everybody... Especially in those parts. Well, even growing up, my dad had a CB. Like when we do long road trips, like he had a CB. Yeah. So Bill's dad's handle was Big Toe, and therefore Bill was Little Toe.
Little Toe.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, both my grandfathers are retired truck drivers, and they have their own handles.
Yeah. My dad was not a truck driver. He just had a CB.
But he had a handle?
I don't think he had a handle.
You should ask him.
I should.
And
I feel
find
like
out
I
what
would
it
know
is.
it. I feel like I would know it if he had one. But yeah, I mean, that was just one of the things I remember. I mean, we were camping everywhere, but so we always drove everywhere. Like if we were coming from New Hampshire to North Carolina to visit my grandparents, we were driving, and so you'd sit there, and we had 4 tapes, and when we weren't playing Willie Nelson or Dolly Parton, we had 2 tapes of each.
Right.
I was listening to him listen to other people talk on the CB.
How cool is it that you get to sit there one night a week and interview and talk to local artists around the area and really give them possibly a platform that they may not have to get their music out to, someone new.
Yeah.
So they can have a chance to listen to it.
We love it. I mean, that's, Bill and I really feel like we're not doing anything other than and then opening the door and giving these folks an opportunity. But it has been crazy. The amount of talented musicians that there are in the area, man. And we're sort of drawing from all over the place now. We try to make sure that we're getting musicians from Statesville on the show.
Sure.
But we're certainly, we get a lot from Charlotte and Winston and Greensboro and Hickory, and we've gotten a bunch from Boone here recently. We've had some folks. We've had a band drive up from Wilmington 2 different times. Like drive up, do the show, turn around, drive back to Wilmington.
Wow.
And so, I mean, you never know what's, the level of exposure people, are potentially going to get.
Yeah.
Or they've got something new they really want to showcase. And so they're trying to find every opportunity they have as an outlet. And we're just lucky that the folks will choose to come on and do it with us. And, now for a lot of it, people contact us and say, hey, we heard about your show. We'd love to bring our band on. And it's like, great. Here's the next date we got. Come on. And
even easier.
Yeah. Come on. And just don't drop the F-bomb and a couple other things. And otherwise we're good to go. So it's been fun.
You have a history with not so popular bands, and then they become popular, right? For example, possibly, not possibly, the band who played at your wedding.
We did
tiny little band that no one's heard of.
We did. How did this all happen?
That's a great question. My wife asks me all the time, "How did that happen?" I'm like, I don't know, honey.
So we had the Avett Brothers played at our wedding, which it seems like an eternity ago.
Right.
it'll be 13 years this August. But
So that the Avett brothers that everyone nowadays knows who that is. They played your wedding many moons ago.
They did, yeah. So we had seen the Avett brothers a time or two at Merle Fest, and sort of instantly, my wife and I both love music. But for years, we kind of liked different types of music. You know, I liked the Dead and this kind of thing, and she liked sort of an alt country, indie rock sort of thing. And it was pretty rare that we found something that we both really liked. Well, the first time we heard the Avett Brothers, we were like, "Oh, yeah, I really like these guys. What do you think?" And so we were seeing them regionally around North Carolina for 6 months or a year, and I proposed to my wife in the Smokies on a hiking trip one weekend. And on our way back, she's immediately making phone calls and starting wedding planning and whatnot. And one of the things that came up was about music, and it was kind of like, oh, you think the Avett Brothers would play a wedding? And it was kind of like, I don't know, call them and ask them.
Yeah.
So she did, and they were like, oh man, they love doing that sort of thing, and so we booked the band, and they really weren't a lot more than we would have paid a DJ or something to come and play.
Right.
They were still a pretty small band playing around, Charlotte and Winston and places like that. Well, over the course of the year, from when we booked them to play our wedding until our wedding, they had sort of, at least in the area, had gotten pretty dang popular.
Right.
So by the time our wedding rolled around, pretty much all of our friends were big Avett Brothers fans.
Sure.
And so it certainly made for a pretty good time.
You're damn right. I'm sure it
At
did.
the wedding reception, and then from then, I mean, it wasn't long after that they were just as nice and down to earth and gracious, and certainly honored their contract, even though we were paying them a fraction of what they would have charged at that point in time, and then almost immediately after the wedding, just kind of exploded, and seemed to be maintaining that.
Well, maybe they'll come back and play like your 10 or 15-year wedding anniversary or something.
Perhaps. You never know.
You just reach out and find out.
Yeah,
you don't know until you ask.
That's why we go to Merle Fest. We just kind of treat that as an anniversary party.
That's cool.
Like that. Yeah.
They're
playing there again this year, so that'll be good.
That's a good. Merle Fest is a bucket list item for here. I've never really had the opportunity to take advantage of.
Oh yeah, you're missing out, man. It's a great time.
I know, and
it's big. It is a big festival. But it's just up the road in Wilkesboro. They're in their maybe 33rd year or something like that. I've been going since college, so probably 20 years or something, somewhere around there. It's just a great time, but it has grown into being a huge event. I mean, 80, 100,000 people, I would guess, over the 3 or 4 days, and but lots of great music, and they kind of do traditional plus, so you get a lot of traditional bluegrass, but you get lots of cool cool other music as well. It's just a really cool time. It's neat to have that this close to home.
Absolutely, but you had with your love of music and going to festivals, you actually had a hand, or probably a big hand, in bringing the Carolina Roots Festival to Statesville a few years ago.
I was involved with that for the 2 years that it existed, and
thank you for doing that too, by the way.
Yeah, man, thanks. It was a lot of fun, and we had a great time. The turnout wasn't ever really what we were hoping for, but overall, I mean, it was a great time. It was a cool festival. Folks had a good time, and then it's still, I think it's still, I hope, on the back burner. That was a kind of a sub event of the Carolina Balloon Fest.
Yeah.
And so, the hope is that once Balloon Fest gets settled and maybe finds a permanent location, and that maybe it'll have an opportunity to sort of rear its head again, and
I hope so,
and start over again. But there's still a lot of as sad as that one was to see it go. We've Bill and I both we MC this really cool event every year up at Vanoy Family Campground. That's the last weekend in September. Called Carolina Jubilee.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool local festival 15 miles up the road at Vanoy. So I mean, there's a lot of cool things that are going on that we've sort of found solace, and Carolina Roots was kind of a bummer that it didn't last. There's other things to hitch your wagon to. And
it is but you guys had a pretty big big name. Easton Anderson was there the first year, right?
Yeah. Anderson East.
That's right.
Yeah, Keller Williams we had.
That is right.
We had some big. We swung pretty big.
Yeah.
That may have been good or bad or whatever, but we were kind of like, man, let's do it or go home. And
that's right.
And so we swung big, and man, the people that were there had a good time. There were not a ton of people there, but the ones who were there had a big time.
Great time.
Yeah, and so that if you can't get 1,000 people there, you might as well show the couple hundred there a really good
Damn
time. So
right.
that's what we did. Yeah.
Well, I hope that is something, like you said, that's on the back burner and that may come back to fruition later. Because it's just another kind of feather in the cap of what we do here and reaching out to people.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff
bringing
I
the
think.
community together.
Well, and I think that, and you look at, events like that are great because it's great to offer locals. But the stuff that we can do, and this is like when one of our goals with the film fest, and I think a goals for a lot of events is, let's try to figure out a way. We want to host this stuff to have great quality of life and cool things going on here for the residents here in Statesville. But we also want to attract people.
That's right.
To Statesville.
Yeah.
To come see downtown or whatever the draw is, and then hopefully fall in love with Statesville for the same reason that I did, that you did, that anybody did, and maybe maybe you don't move here. That's fine.
That's fine.
But that it's on your radar is we should do next Sunday we got nothing going on. Let's go to Statesville for the day and knock downtown's great. Let's knock around downtown and get a beer. They got a couple breweries and there's food's great, and
that's it.
It just kind of it becomes a destination spot for folks to come and spend some time, spend a little money. So.
And along with with those things, but you also are very active too in the Special Olympics. Here in Iredell County.
Yeah, I am. So that's one of the things that falls under our umbrella of the Recreation and Parks Department. We coordinate the Special Olympics of Iredell County program. And I was, for several years, I guess 6 or 7 years, I was the local coordinator for Special Olympics. When I got a promotion, 8 months ago, I transitioned out of that role, but still get to stay involved. And it's really great. It's a year-round program that ultimately provides athletic training opportunities for individuals with intellectual disabilities. And it's really probably the most rewarding part of my job. Just a great group of people to work with. Really gracious folks. And yeah, we've, I've got to watch a lot of athletes do some really cool stuff over the years. We had an athlete 3 years ago that got to go compete in Austria at the World Games in alpine skiing, and she brought home a couple silver medals. We had an athlete last year that go to national games in Seattle and compete in bocce. So we're doing all these cool things. Yeah.
Where do they train here for alpine skiing?
They go up to App.
Really?
Appalachian Ski Mountain. Yeah.
That might be the most surprising thing you've said to me this entire show.
No,
someone
it's
from here
remarkable.
went and traveled to Austria to
Austria.
compete in alpine skiing.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's awesome. And that's the beauty of the program is that, you get, you provide opportunity. It provides opportunities like that for that wouldn't even be on your radar. It's remarkable. And so we've probably got about 400 or so pretty active athletes here in Iredell County. And so we work to provide a bunch of local events throughout the year. But then we also facilitate those athletes' participation in regional and state level events. And then every once in a while, we'll get a call that one of ours has been selected to compete nationally or globally. So it's it's pretty cool. Yeah.
How can people learn more about the Special Olympics? Like if they want to donate or if they want to volunteer, if they just want to be involved.
Yeah. The best way is just to contact the Recreation Department, which the easiest way to do that is probably just going on the city's website. And Kaylee Moore is now the local coordinator. But if you go on the city's website and look up the Recreation and Parks Department, there'll be links there to get to Special Olympics, or just call the office. And
is that
we'll
cityofstatesville.com?
It's statesvillenc.net.
Statesvillenc.net.
Yeah, you're going to make me look it up now because
okay.
I don't want to say it wrong. That would be grounds for...
There's only 12 listeners.
Yeah, so far. But no, yeah, we love volunteers, and there's always volunteer opportunities, both for like single day stuff, like just to come out and participate in an event, or like if you're like, gosh, I'd really love to. I'd love to coach. Yeah, statesvillenc.net. I'd love to coach I'd love to coach the golf team, or I'd love to coach a volleyball team, or whatever. Or I'd love to participate. One of the big focuses now is on unified sports. So it's creating teams and creating opportunities where traditional athletes will compete right alongside Special Olympics athletes. So you might have a basketball team that's made up of a couple of traditional athletes and 3 Special Olympics athletes, and you go participate in unified sports like that. So it's pretty cool.
Of all the cool stuff you do and fun stuff, that's got to be, like you said, it's got to be the most rewarding. Right?
It's pretty awesome because, like I say, you don't, with the folks that we work with typically on the Special Olympics side of things, there's no complaints. There's no, you don't get any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
Everybody's gracious. Everybody's happy for the opportunities. It's all the good in people. And so that part's pretty awesome.
One of my aunt, who I grew up with, she was always my buddy, and she participates in Special Olympics, and she's 61 now.
Yeah.
62. And
Here?
yeah.
What's her name?
Her name, well, they call her Bonnie Mayberry.
Oh yeah, I know Bonnie.
Yeah, but her name is actually, I've known her my entire life as Sia.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it trips me out that she's gotten older. Like, everybody officially know her as Bonnie.
I think she's on our cheerleading team.
She could be.
Yeah,
she
might be.
Yeah. But,
that's awesome. I did not realize that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
So yeah, she is a sweetheart and is a true angel.
Well, and so that's the other cool part about it is that we'll have one event and we'll have athletes that are age 8 and we'll have athletes that are 78.
Yeah.
It's just really neat, man. It's it's one of those kind of special things that I encourage you, anybody, if you think, oh, I'd like to do that sometime, just give us a call. We'll find an opportunity for you to come out, and even if it's just for a couple hours one time, so just to come out and put the smile on your face and go back to work, it'd be worth it.
Well, I appreciate you doing that, and I also appreciate all the things that you've done since you guys have moved back, you and your wife, for the community, because people obviously have noticed, and it's creating a positive impact, and we need more of that. And so keep up, Little Toe and Frankie. Keep up. Don't let that music fest die. It's just on simmer.
It's just on simmer right now. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
And the film festival, keep it rocking. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know.
For sure, man. Yeah, we'll just keep you plugged with information, and
plug me away,
just
man.
Another outlet, man.
Absolutely.
And thanks for doing this. I think this is awesome. I've gotten to enjoy seeing some buddies on here, and then seeing some people that I didn't know who they were before. So I think it's great, man.
Well, I appreciate it.
And thanks to you, Julius, for hosting this creepy.
It's creepy on the outside, kind of like
it's nice in here.
But is this not like, this is a neat little studio, man.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I think it's awesome.
It is. But I appreciate you, and thanks for everybody for tuning in, and thank you to Julius, and thank you to States Vegas Radio. And if you don't have the app, it's simple. Go to the App Store, type it in, and download it. All right, everybody. Appreciate you. We'll see you again soon. Thanks. Thanks, Richard.
Yeah, thank you.